What's up, Drop Pod listeners? You can check out new episodes of the Drop Podcast every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find all of our content on YouTube at the Drop Golf Podcast and on our socials. That's Instagram and Twitter at the Drop_pod. No matter how you consume us, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Follow and listen along.
This episode is brought to you by George Wall Ford. George Wall Ford in Red Bank, New Jersey is family owned and operated, proudly serving New Jersey residents with superior customer service since 1960. Rye, share your story about your experience there.
Mike, I went on a tangent in one of our episodes previously about it, but I can't say enough good things about George Wall Ford. I needed a new car. I had an old. I loved the brand that I had. I loved, it was an SUV, but had 165,000 miles on it. It was just time, So I hopped on over to George Wall Ford. I saw our guy Jerry, and Jerry and his team were awesome. I mean, from stem to stern, they're there, they're helping, they're knowledgeable. They have so many cars on the lot that you can go in and say, hey, I want a sunroof, a navigation. I want this kind of rims on it. I want this kind of this, that, and the other thing. There's a great chance that they have that car with all your specs, the color, all that thing. Me, I didn't particularly care. I was like, hey, I want to be high up in the car, right? I need an SUV. I'm a big guy. I got a dog. I got golf clubs. I got beach chairs in the summer. I need something that's a little more rugged, a little more. Again, I like to be higher in my car. And I went and saw Jerry. He pointed me in the right direction. And again, it's awesome to have that kind of help and support from your salesman to the finance guy to even they got somebody who helps you set up your car, right? I got an app on my phone now that's got my auto start on it. I can locate my car if I don't know where it is. I could take a trip to Japan if I wanted to and be like, did I lock my car? And I can go into the app and lock my car. So even people helping you set up that stuff, just the hands-on approach over there is incredible. So if you need a car, head on over to George Wall. And go ask for Jerry. They were awesome there. Again, stem to stern from everybody. I can't say enough good things about it. It was an unbelievable experience.
So to Ryan's point, there isn't a better place to shop for a brand new car. Just call 732-704-1932 and ask for Jeremy Wall. George Wall Ford in Red Bank for all your car buying needs. This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro, and this is Ryan Kulot.
What's up, Drop Pod people? Welcome back to Interview Thursday. We have a very exciting one. We have the president of Skratch, the EVP of media for Pro Shop, Rob DeChiaro. And let me tell you, if none of that means anything to you, if those titles, if you're confused about that, know that this is a heavy hitter in the media game, especially in the golf media game. You've probably seen something from Skratch. You've seen the logo, you've seen a video, you've seen clothing, you've seen something. They have been and Mike, correct me if I misspeak on this, but they're the only media company that had access to the PGA Tour videos for the archives. So they've been able to put out videos. They're the ones, if you see a video of Tiger Woods in the baggy pant Tiger, man, that's my favorite Tiger when he's wearing the super baggy pants. That's coming from Skratch because they're the only ones that have the archive footage. Now with Pro Shop and all that's coming out, they continue to build that, and the PGA Tour has continued to build out the media organizations that can have that. But that's what he's the president of. He's in charge of it. He's been on the ground floor from nearly the beginning. He has his roots going back to Golf Magazine, and he's a very big deal in the media game, and particularly the golf media game.
Yeah, so when you say Full Swing and when you say Happy Gilmore too, that falls under the Pro Shop umbrella. That's who's producing that. That's who's directing that. That's who's editing. That is that company right there, and Rob's a part of it. When you're talking Skratch, you see all these new videos.
Rob's not a part of it. Rob is hugely involved in it.
Yeah. And then you talk about Skratch, you want to talk about all these new videos that Danny Rappaport's putting together and how they're kind of Eric Anders Lang putting out all these videos from different parts of the country. this is going to be the next it brand, if it's not already there yet, when it comes to golf in the world of media. Because I mean, listen, if you remember the Creator Classic,
Creator Classic
they
was them
Pro
too.
Shop,
Yep.
it was involved in it. That's who put it on, Chad Mum and them.
Yeah.
So like, this is a heavy hitter.
Yeah. It absolutely is. And he gives really good insight into what can kind of be a confusing world as far as like understanding media rights and broadcasting. Like I get confused about like why CBS has this game or NBC has that game or this time slot or, so and that's as far as football goes. And I think only golf gets more confusing. So he does a really good job of explaining it to us and kind of showing us what he's looking for in this, where he wants this to go, where it's been. And yeah, it was an awesome interview. Really good to have him on. So without further ado, we're going to send you to our interview with Rob DeChiaro, president of Skratch. Enjoy.
Tired of your sock drawer looking like a 50s television show? Then it's time to try socks by Leverett US. With their vast array of color options and superior design, it's the only sock that you will ever need. Whether you play golf, tennis, pickleball, or just on your feet all day, Leverett socks will enhance every step you take. Made from 97% nylon and 3% spandex, Leverett socks offers advanced moisture-wicking technology, odor-resistant fabric, durable and elastic construction, exfoliation components, and a blister-proof design. The performance of the socks are unparalleled in the market today, and they by far have the most color options in the business. Whether it is a holiday, seasonal, or event-based, Leverett US is consistently expanding their color options and designs. For those golf professionals, business owners, and merchandisers out there, Leverett US also offers a custom sock option. Fully customize your sock from heel to toe. With your logo on the sock and on the packaging, they are a perfect way to promote your business or make a nice margin in your shop or retail store. Throw a little text on the back heel and really take your custom sock to the next level. Leverett US is the only sock company you will need to address the one missing fashion piece in a person's wardrobe. For more information on Leverett socks, go to www.leverett.us or check them out on Instagram at LeverettUS. And don't forget, your outfit's not complete without Leverett on your feet. So today's guest, I think we have a special one here. It's kind of outside the box for us, but I think it's one the audience is going to truly like. Today's guest is president of Skratch, EVP of media for Pro Shop, Rob DeChiaro. Rob, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I mean, someone of your caliber, everything you got going on. I was running through research today. I'm sure every minute of your day is taken. So thank you for jumping on, giving us.
It's very similar to those type of things, Zoom calls and all that fun stuff. So this is perfect, and I'd rather be here. So I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
So listen, let's kind of get into this because I know, being the golf nerd that I am, when you talk Skratch and you hear that name specifically, it is kind of the up and up company golf media brand that you see a lot now. But before I dive into all the inner workings of that, give the audience a little bit of a background about you, how you kind of got to where you are today.
Absolutely. I'm a media guy. Studied communications at school, born and bred in New Jersey. So love being on a podcast like this.
There we go.
Grew up in Bergen County, in a town called Glen Rock. Was a sports guy growing up, went into communications school at Muhlenberg College in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And coming out of school, I just didn't want to go into the business world, right? I wasn't ready to be applying at JP Morgan or any of those places, and was always a little bit more on the creative side and enjoyed that side of the world and the media side of the world. I was lucky enough to score a job at an advertising agency right out of school, working on the Johnson & Johnson business, and really kind of entered this world of consumer product goods, where we were working with a ton of brands within the Johnson & Johnson portfolio that were really targeting like moms and women with a ton of advertising and marketing. So it's funny that I'm here now, but that really kind of started.
You flip because now golf is
exactly
men and middle age. Yeah,
exactly. So started out on that path, and as a lot of people that start in an ad agency world moved on to the publishing side, the media side of it. About 5 years in, learned a ton. Ad agencies are the greatest business school that you could go to if you're looking to get into the advertising and marketing world. Went over to AOL as that was spinning out of the Time Warner debacle at a time when a guy by the name of Tim Armstrong, who was coming over from Google, took the CEO job of AOL, and was just kind of right place, right time, where he was coming in with a ton of energy. I consider him a huge mentor of mine, and just put your head down and went to work. And all of a sudden, it went from you were doing, one account, working on Procter and Gamble and J&J to Coca-Cola, and then all of a sudden things just kind of started working out well. Was handling a lot of things on the marketing side, client solutions is what they would call it, and that's really just coming up with ideas for brands and advertisers to gravitate towards to buy your media over somebody else's media. And in doing that, I realized how important the audience was, and building a loyal, engaged audience on whatever that is that you're producing and publishing. So much so that I took some time and learned how the content management system worked, and learned the thought process of the video producers that were making the content and the editorial teams. Before you knew it, kind of shifted into a general manager role where you're working directly with the business side and the content side, right? And that kind of just opened up a world of opportunities. Jumped over to a startup that was in this wild world that was called YouTube. And they had a bunch of these multi-channel networks that were coming up, joined one over there. And after doing the startup thing for a little while, was recruited over to Condé Nast to be the general manager of GQ, and to really work with the publisher and editor-in-chief of GQ to make GQ a more digital-first brand. And in doing that, in the same house of Condé Nast, working down at One World Trade Center, was Golf Digest. And we had done a couple of really cool things at GQ, and a gentleman by the name of Jason Adele, who was, in a senior role over at Golf Digest, just reached out and said, "Hey, let's go grab lunch at the cafeteria. I want to figure out how the hell you're getting stuff done over here. Like, the stuff you're doing at GQ is really cool. How do we do some of that stuff for Golf Digest?" We sit down. He's a Jersey guy, lives literally in my town now, and we get to become acquaintances and friends and just kind of throw ideas off of each other. A few months after that, he becomes the CEO of Golf Magazine and reaches out to me. We start talking. He's like, "I need somebody like you, like that does what you do." I'm like, "No, man, you need me. Like, let's go." Right? Like,
there
let's
is
go.
no other me.
There is no other me.
I love that.
So
I love that.
he and I went over at a time where Golf Magazine and Golf.com had just been acquired by 8am Golf and Howard Milstein, who I would also consider a mentor and learned a ton from while at Golf Magazine and Golf.com with 8am Golf, where he was kind of building a conglomerate of really interesting golf companies, Golf Logics, True Spec, Fairway Jockey. And all of a sudden you had all these pieces, and a media company kind of made sense. So we acquired that from Time Inc. just as Jason and I were getting there. And our task was to kind of breathe life into a brand that kind of was overlooked because they were selling it at Time Inc. Took time to relaunch, rebuild that brand, hire editorial talent to the likes of Dylan DeChiaro and Claire Rogers and James Colgan, and people who all of a sudden really kind of started bursting up on the golf scene with some of the content strategy that we put in place. And learned a ton from Jason Adele, the CEO over at Golf Magazine, also a mentor of mine, also a member over at Morris County, where I got to play all too often because he was all too nice to me, and had a ton of fun at that Seth Rayner course. And spent, that was June of 19 when we started there. And we relaunched the site and put a commerce engine within the site and did all these things right around October of 2019. And then the world spins on top of its head. I'll never forget, like, I looked at Jason at one point, I go, "I think we should bring our laptops home." It was a Friday. We brought our laptops home, and I don't think we ever went back to the office. And watching the world go through the golf boom and being at the right place at the right time, the strategy that we were implementing really worked with some of the things that were happening in the
Just
game of
perfect.
golf
Yeah.
at the perfect time.
Yeah.
And we rode that wave. We grew to become the biggest golf media website. We grew to, revenue. We grew brand awareness. We did all those things that we were looking out to do. Spent about 5 years there. Obviously, the world of golf, small one, close-knit community. When Full Swing was coming out, Chad Mumm and I had a conversation while in Augusta, and he was bringing Dylan on to be one of the speaking heads on Full Swing. And as you can imagine, the golf world is closely knit, and Chad and I are relatively newcomers to that world. He came from Vox Media, I came from AOL and Condé Nast, both media backgrounds, and we had a ton of overlap. So of course, we kind of gravitated towards each other and became friends, just because we kind of were a little bit on the outside looking in until we got ourselves ingrained there. And all of a sudden, 2 years later, he's got this thing that he's doing with Pro Shop, and we're talking, and really happened faster than anything that's ever happened to me. It was not something I expected to happen. I love the team at Golf Magazine. I love golf.com and everything they're doing, and I still am a huge fan of everything going on there. But it was kind of right place, right time. There's not a lot of these upstart media companies coming out that have the buzz and have the heat that they have coming off of them, and made the move to Pro Shop and Skratch in September.
It's crazy to like that arc that's happened, because it has happened so quick, and the buzz around it has been so big.
If you're looking for the perfect gift this holiday season for the golfer in your life, let me introduce you to Handsome Squire, a Brooklyn-based golf brand offering monogrammed leather scorecard wallets and yardage book holders to the Met golf community. Inspired by the legend of the Met area's own Gene Sarazen, nicknamed the Squire, Handsome Squire offers the golfer in your life something they've never had: an exquisite wallet handcrafted in Italy from the finest Italian leather, vegetable tan for durability, and a rich, timeless finish. So whether you're out on the course or relaxing at the 19th hole, this wallet will be a conversation starter and is sure to be the envy of your golf buddies. And with the holidays just around the corner, Handsome Squire is a special Christmas sale for Drop Pod listeners right now. Get 30% off your order plus free shipping with the code DROP30 at checkout, now through Sunday, December 15th. So if you're tired of shopping for that golfer in your life who already has all the latest gear and the coolest logos, get them something they've never had: a custom golf wallet personally monogrammed to make it truly their own. Visit handsomesquire.com and enter code DROP30 at checkout to get 30% off your order this Christmas. Don't miss out. This offer is the perfect way to elevate your game and gift giving this holiday season.
I might ask some questions because Mike knows I'm not as deep into the Instagram media world that he is. So if I ask a question like a 5-year-old, feel free to answer it like a 5-year-old.
That's all good.
Pro Shop is now like the head company, and Skratch is under it, right?
Correct. Okay. So if you thought about Pro Shop as a holding company, there's 3 divisions within Pro Shop. The first is the studio. The studio is Chad, is Full Swing, is Happy Gilmore 2, which they're executive producing. It's the Creator Classic, which had a ton of success last year, and obviously there's conversations about where that goes next. That is your studio. Then you have Sugarloaf and the apparel side of the world, which really fits into commerce. So the reality is media today is a giant commerce engine. So if we're starting a new media company, we need to have commerce expertise. So let's build a commerce arm, and let's find some really interesting brands that we make our own and help lift up that commerce. And Pro Shop, and one of the first acquisitions they made was the Sugarloaf team, brought them on. And then the third pillar of that is a media division. More of the day-to-day content, more stuff like this, like the podcast you guys are doing, more stuff covering Stick Gotti changing to a claw grip and giving Dan a platform to have a weekly show, or Ryan Barath to do gear reviews and, get overly geeked out when all the new clubs come out in January. Plus Addie and Raymond, who is on Golf Projects on Instagram, who are bringing this idea that golf is style now. Holy, right? Like there's a ton going on here. Like there's a ton that needs to be information there. And so Pro Shop is the holding company, but there are those three divisions within there that are built to work together to be the greater of all parts.
Gotcha. Yeah. Again, I was like looking through it and trying to understand it in, I didn't go to school for communications or media or anything. So I literally wrote in my notes, I was like the Michael Scott quote of like, okay, explain this to me like I'm 5.
Yeah. Well, we like to speak in our own language sometimes, we've got a vocabulary that's unique to us in the media world.
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously, there are little differences between Ryan and I about this whole thing. And I think, as you and I were talking in the pre-show here, like, I think what you've done in bringing a guy like Danny Rappaport on, who kind of has not only the connections or the network, but also the ability to speak to big time golfers as well as the everyday guy or the guy who's just starting. And I think I guess I want to say your Rolodex of who you're bringing into this whole thing is really, really impressive.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of what we're trying to do. We see the opportunity for Pro Shop as a whole in bringing that new generation of golfer further along that timeline, further along that getting to the golf sicko pipeline. Like they need somewhere to go after getting into it, and we see our space as being that. I would also say that Danny and the people that we're trying to bring on have built unique audiences. They're clearly resonating with that audience already. And a term that our CEO, Joe Przicki, uses that I steal every time possible, but like we need full stack creators. Dan can write as quickly as he can get on a podcast, as quickly as he can shoot a video with, Tour Player X. And that's of the utmost importance because to be a modern day media company, you need to be able to go wherever that audience is in whatever format they're going to. And I think that was another one of the big things for me was we don't have to be dependent on a website. We don't have to be dependent on a cable channel. We don't have to be dependent on a magazine. We're going to be dependent on finding the audience wherever they are, podcast, social, YouTube, and hopefully our website, which launched this week, like all of that. But we want to spread that out. We want all of that audience to be everywhere for everything that we're doing. And I think that's what Dan brings to the table that we're really excited about.
Yeah. When you say that, I think, Mike and I are both basketball guys. I think triple threat. You're looking for a triple threat person that
Absolutely.
can do, pass, shoot, and dribble. You're looking for the person that can socials and all that stuff.
Yeah. We've used the term 5-tool player. So similar.
There you go. There you go. Baseball term.
Yeah, exactly.
And then one of the things I guess you can educate me even on is the idea that like PGA Tour clips specifically.
Yeah.
And how that whole, I guess, agreement, partnership, how that all works, because I know that at Skratch, you guys kind of have a library in terms of what you're able to go into compared to like the general audience, which, for fiends like me that want to live back Tiger Woods' glory days and see these shots on repeat, what is that agreement partnership that you guys have specifically that others, I guess, simply don't?
Yeah. So I think at a higher macro level, I think it's all built off this principle that guess what? In a cord cutting world, in the media world that we live in, the growing trend is that live sports are a hot commodity. And you could see that with the deals that are being struck by the NBA or the NFL, and the fact that NFL's got a Black Friday game on Amazon, and MLB, you can barely find where the game is half the time. And there's Apple and there's this and that. The most important reason for that is the rights to that content, right? The rights to air and stream that content. So the PGA Tour obviously has their relationships and licensing partners, CBS, NBC, ESPN, all of those deals that they have, that grants them rights to those assets and to that content. That is not something that is easily achievable because those are giant partnerships for the PGA Tour. So the idea of taking any IP from a tournament without agreement from those partners is a no-no. At Golf Magazine, we did not have access to any actual live golf coverage. Now, I say that and I get really excited because and we did it without that, right? Like
Yeah.
you know.
That's so you didn't think about that. Like that's such an
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
thing because it's not something a lot of people know.
I think I learned that firsthand when I tried putting something out on Instagram.
Oh, you
and it
got
got
your hand slapped.
Oh, I got it slapped, and I got to take it because when Chris Goddard was making a run at Myrtle Beach, I was taking all these things, throwing them out there because Chris Goddard is golfing in the Garden State to us. So it's like, here we go. And then flag. And I was like, okay.
Just re-embed and repost their post and you're fine. But
I had to learn
that.
I had to learn that.
Yeah. But no, that's the reality, right? So all of a sudden that's IP. And there's a giant team of people sitting within YouTube, sitting within the tour who are watching that as they should. That is their intellectual property. That is their payday, right? And I don't fault them at all for needing to do that. That is the reality of how broadcast rights work. So with that being said, Skratch was built and launched for the last 10, 15 years within the PGA Tour. When Chad and the Pro Shop team and Joe Przicki and Dave Miller, who are the three of the co-founders, go and start talking to the PGA Tour about investment, the conversation becomes, well, interesting. Not only are we interested in investing, but we have Skratch, and like we can be doing even more with it. We can give you guys a jump start.
Right.
Why don't you take it? Right. So in that process, prior to that, Skratch had access to all of those things because they were a part of the PGA Tour.
Right.
When we relaunch and get Pro Shop and do all of those things, there is an agreement in place that we remain a partner in the same way that we were while at the PGA Tour, which gives us access that very few others have in our world. I'm not going to be able to compete with CBS covering an event, right? But as a media and advertising client, I know that that's a different spend, right? They've got different budgets for each of those things. But now I can really kind of partner with that really nicely because I can shoot some clips.
Yeah.
Or I can have Ryan Barath, who's our gear guy, on the range talking to Scotty about, did that change in putting style? Like, did you need a new grip? Like, did you have, I don't know, did I? But we can record there and we can make that part of our content, which just gives us the ability. You can do it. You can do it in unique ways and creative ways where you don't have that, but giving it that gives it that much more leg, that much more juice.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So is the goal of Pro Shop to be like another huge media deal? And I know you got Danny from Barstool. Is that kind of the idea, to make like a Barstool-esque just for golf? And I hope that doesn't, I was thinking, I hope that doesn't offend you in any way.
Not at all.
They're obviously a huge media conglomerate. Is that kind of what the future vision is for this?
I mean, seeing I think we're all kind of right around that age demographic that kind of grew up with Barstool, right? Yeah. We were all starting our desk jockey jobs and our cubicle jobs when KFC was writing his cubicle, journals and like writing those blogs. Like, we were the guys sending them back and forth when it was like, dude, this thing is really funny. Yeah. So seeing Barstool go from that to what it is, and seeing what Dave has done, and I had the opportunity to work with Erica Ayers now while at AOL, and just seeing what she was able to do there. That is the greatest compliment ever, if you say that was what you're trying to be. But in the most basic form, like, yes, we're trying to create an umbrella that is the brand of Pro Shop that has a bunch of shows and talent that people tune in for. That's exactly what we're trying to do. Okay. And I think that's what Barstool has done fantastically.
Yeah. I'll give you another one that, me being the golf nerd that I'm into, is Eric Anders Lang.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. The idea that guy goes to the most random spots and plays 9 holes, 18 holes, shows you a few holes, that is an unbelievable series that I guarantee the average Joe may not have heard about. But the way he storytells, the way he interacts is so, so good.
And we plan on, taking Adventures in Golf and Eric and working directly with him to make that show bigger, better, and to a larger audience. That is a big part of what we plan on doing. It is going to be a core programming principle for us. And, we're scheduled to talk next week about what next season looks like. Right. So all of that. I think it's going to be pairing a lot of that, like, higher production value, higher touch stuff with some of that stuff that Dan can do really fast. right? And making sure that it's always alive, because look, it takes a long time for Eric to do all that stuff.
Mhm.
You're going to have a gap
Yeah.
between episodes. You're going to gap between seasons. There's still things to talk about in your unique voice that we're going to focus in on.
Yeah. How long does that take? Like, do you give someone like Eric leeway to like, hey, here's your camera guy, set up your own stuff, or are you and the company, are they like more involved in the, we want you playing this place and that place? Like, how does that process kind of work with you guys?
Well, I think right now, I mean, because that was something that was like Eric's going to do his thing. Like he's going to pitch us a plan and what he wants to do. And yeah, we talk about it. We build a strategy for it, but it is geared by like, what does he think is going to do the best? Like, what does he think is the most interesting? What's going to drive the most viewers?
And then you're
that's
just
a long
providing the
process.
team. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, a lot of times it could be that he has like, guys, I have a shooter that I really like, right? Like, I like this, I like that, that is something that we work. It depends on the partner, right? It depends on who we're working with and what their structure is. The evolution of the media world and the fact that, and this is no disrespect to you guys, but like you decided you wanted to do a podcast and you just went and did it. You bought really good microphones, you downloaded some software, you got headphones, and all of a sudden you've got a extremely loyal audience on a podcast that you are dedicated to. The same thing happens with video, right? Like if somebody really wants to go get good at video and buy the great camera and produce those things, so what ends up happening is you kind of have to be flexible. I can't sit here and say that I've got enough producers, shooters, editors on staff to do all of those things. You have to kind of be nimble to those things. And that's somebody like with Eric, it's like, yeah, you got your track record, that stuff works. How do you want to do it? Great. What I would say is like, yeah, there's always going to be that conversation of like, okay, well, we needed to launch at least by this date, right? Or we need to have a review by at least by this date. But that's the healthy tension that exists in any creative development.
Yeah, that's probably more the administrative side that you kind of handle.
Yeah.
That he's like, you know what, I'm creating the whole thing. You just kind of give me the deadline and I'll get it done. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And the other thing I kind of, have as I've gone down this rabbit hole is getting a team like Titleist on board too. I think having even more names and brands hop on, I think just enhances the product even more, brings more eyes to, hey, what about it? What's Titleist's influence or relationship with you guys?
I'd even say, Mike, to add to it, it gives more clout to what you're doing. Like you're hooked up with the PGA, now you got Titleist. Like it just gives it more of a like gravitas to it.
It just makes it feel real, right? It kind of is a validation to a certain extent. And look, the relationship with Titleist begins and starts because they have a relationship with the PGA Tour, and there's a conversation there that our sales team that was Skratch, Zoe Wilson, who's our head of sales, like she's been working with Titleist for years because of the PGA Tour connection, and she's still our head of sales. She's somebody that we're really excited is still on the team and is going to be doing a lot for us, and that's how that conversation starts. But when you talk about what they want to do with us, like our goal is to build partnerships, not advertisers. And the ideas of display banners and or commercials or print ads or live reads, like those are all good things, and you need to have those because they're part of a nice marketing blend, a marketing mix that you need to do. But Titleist, what kind of really interesting stories do you have that we should tell? Is there something like you guys are the golf ball company, Pro V1s, like we all know, right? What story can we tell about that isn't just a press release, right? How do we work with you on that? And so telling some of those stories, some of those brand history stories, and I think the unique thing with the PGA Tour is they can also get us access to players, right? They've got players on staff, and we want to get their stories out there. So the great thing about the conversations we're having with partners right now is that they see our seriousness, they see our potential, and a brand like Titleist, like they want to be there with us from the ground up because then they can help us build and evolve into what's next. Now, we want to work with all brands, all partners, because they all have their unique thing, and I think that's the key. But you're 100% right. It definitely is something that we made a priority for launch. Like it is important to have somebody there saying, no, we got them, we got their back.
Yeah, I totally agree there. And then, like, as you think big picture, Full Swing obviously is the hit show in terms of when it comes to golf. I think the way that is all edited, developed, produced, the whole nine is like, you just sitting on your toes waiting for the next one to pop out, and you binge watch it, and then you're sitting there like, is the next one coming out tomorrow? And then you see like Happy Gilmore 2 going on. Like, what are some of the, I guess, even what's kind of like that point you guys want to get to, like, hey, I think we're there. I think we've kind of put our both feet in, and I think we're getting to the point where when someone says Pro Shop, they understand the tiers.
I think that's a big one, right? And I think right there, the idea that the brand awareness of who and what Pro Shop is, when I'm walking around with a sweatshirt or a t-shirt or a hat that says Pro Shop or Skratch on it, there's no explanation needed, right? Like, to me, that's as crazy as it is, like, that's there, right? That means that you've developed a unique, organic, and loyal audience that knows who you are. That's there, right? Now, yes, there's audience numbers, there is revenue numbers, and all that clout that comes with that. But we live in a world that's very social by nature, not just on your phone, but in general, especially in the golf world, where getting out there and being at events and member guests and things like that. I want to be able to go to the next member guest I go to with Skratch gear on, and everyone's like, "Oh, wow, that's cool."
sick. Yeah,
right. And as crazy as it sounds, like that's like for the first 1 to 2 years, and growing that loyal core organic audience, that is our primary goal.
I like that.
Yeah, it really is, and it kind of to go back to what we were talking about before, like knowing the pillars, like with Barstool, like those guys all have their own individual things. So like Danny Rapp's going to have his own individual things.
Yeah.
Eric's going to have his stuff. Like when you see it, that brand recognition is going to be huge for it.
Yeah.
So I got a little personal question here. What's your golf game like? Obviously, like you're in and around the game of golf nonstop. You've got to play. I got to assume you can't just be living on the marketing side of things and the administrative side. Like, you got to want to put your own Titleist ball in the ground at times. No?
I play all balls, and I look at all balls equally, first and foremost. But what I will tell you is my game has gotten a lot better. When I started at golf, at Golf Magazine, I was not a dedicated golfer. I was a guy who played some sports in college, picked up some golf clubs, and went out and had some fun with friends. And joining Golf Magazine and starting to see some of the places that we would get to go to and get to play, and given that background, obviously a tad bit competitive, I would be going to some cool places and hate every second of it, because you're playing with guys who are really good, who are really awesome, by the way. I think that's one of the big stereotypes, like guys who are not bad at golf. I can't play with guys who are good at golf. It's like, if you move fast, they love it. They want you to have fun. They want you to get better.
Speaking my language, brother. Speaking my language.
And so that's a long way of saying is that I've improved greatly, and I am very happy to say I'm playing bogey golf right now, and that is perfect enough to keep me happy wherever I get to go.
There you go, Rob. That sounds like my journey, because I got to a point, because I didn't grow up playing golf. I didn't pick it up till a little later. Mike grew up playing golf, right? So we're that yin and yang. But there were times where we'd go play. Mike was shooting 74, and I'm marching down the fairway, right side, left side, right side, left side, back of the green, front of the green, right of the green, into the bunker, and I just didn't feel a part of the round. And as I've gotten better, I'm with you. You feel like you feel more invested in the game.
You feel more invested. You feel like you're a part of it, and you feel like you're in that thing, which is clearly what everybody loves, right? Yeah. Where you're you're playing for a few bucks and you're actually contributing, right? And that handicap system works, right? It works. And I've been lucky enough to get connected to Reed over at Canoebrook, who you guys had on the episode. Took a few lessons with him. He did some great things. Been lucky enough to work with Matt Wilson a little bit over at Baltusrol, who helped out with a few things. And I think all those little things on the physical side have been fantastic. I just got to stop thinking so much.
Now we got to get you and Mike to the same psychiatrist to get you to get you going there.
That's on a whole other level. That's on a whole other level. But I being a guy that's grew up here in Jersey,
Mhm.
I always like to ask people this question, and you've kind of tossed out some big time spots here in New Jersey, Baltusrol, Canoe Brook, Morris County. Like those are some big time spots. Do you have a favorite
It's funny
specifically
because
here in New Jersey?
yeah, it's funny because I feel like your favorite kind of changes, right? And a lot of, to me, the places you get to play have to do with the experience. It's funny. It's one of those conversations we had when we were at golf and doing a lot of top 100 rankings. It's really hard to keep prejudice out of like, no, I just had a kick-ass time at Cabot Citrus Farms. Like,
Right?
it's really hard not to rate that. Like,
I-
I'm not. It has nothing to do with the bunkers, right? Like,
No.
you know, and I think that would.
I
That,
talk about the vibes, Rob. I said
yeah,
like the
it's
vibes kind of matter. Like if you go there and you're with a good crew and it's fun and
yeah.
you're gonna have a better experience.
Yeah, and I would say, I look at like different holes that I really love and different experiences I really love. I grew up around Ridgewood and Paramus, and did some bartending at Arcola Country Club, and you know I really like Arcola Country Club. I really like Morris County. It's a fun, unique course here. Rolling hills, Rainer design, thumbprint greens, and like I said, our CEO at golf, Jason Adele, was a member there, and I was lucky enough to go out a lot there. So I would say those three are probably high up there on that list.
Yeah.
Tough to
Can't co-
argue
Yeah,
those.
can't complain about any of those. Yeah,
Tough to
really
argue
can't.
those. It is such a unique question because, like you said, like you go out and
Yeah.
you go with your buddy and the CEO at Morris, and like yes,
Mhm.
obviously it has everything, but like it's not necessarily. It's the time. It's the
Yeah.
hey, the bartender was funny. I got a ton of transfusions, and like
Well,
you
it's
got
funny
all
because
these
it's
other
like
things that are.
Canoe Brook to me is like a completely different experience because I've been lucky enough to go out to the member guest, and Reed throws a heck of an event out there. And it's like, I can't even almost like judge that in the same stratosphere because that is a 3-day grind, but so much fun. They do such a great job over there where it's like, it has very little to do with the courses. That vibe is just immaculate, right?
Mhm.
You're having a blast. And to me, like, I really have a tough time ranking any places that we get to go because it's fun. It's getting out there. And I think we talked about this before, but like having kids and having the family, it's like you constantly have that little bit of guilt as you're playing, right? But at the same time, it's one place where you can get out and kind of take a beat and enjoy it.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on today's show. I probably can continue to pick your brain about this and that, but I probably bore you to death. But I appreciate you hopping on here with us.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, for sure, Rob. Great meeting you. I love what you're doing. I just love the way you talk about things. Like you don't have partners, you have, and now I forgot what it was. What do you call them?
And we don't have advertisers. We have partners.
Advertise. You have partners, right? Like I love that. Like how you talk. I imagine you're someone who's great to work for, and I appreciate you jumping on too. This was absolutely awesome.
It's been a pleasure anytime, and let's try and get out there when it gets a little warmer over here in the Garden State.
I think we can make that happen.
Love it.
Take care.
Take care. Thanks, guys.